LSS overreached and went nuclear.
I think I'm just kind of holding my breath and seeing how this continues to unfold. But it's been quite interesting so far.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Win and In podcast. I am your host, Eric Dauernheim, and today I have with me the man behind Sneep, Mr. Gabe Hohenstein, and well, go ahead and say your hello, Gabe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, howdy.
My bad.
You're fine.
We're not used to having another guest. And our third guest today is Mr. Jonathan. I don't know if you want me to say your last name, so I'll just say it, Jonathan.
Yeah. Thank you. Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
A member of Cold Foil Control, a pretty damn good drafter, but a man of many ideas and words to be spoken. So that's why we have you on.
You're way too kind. That now people are gonna have expectations.
That's true. Well, you know what? There's so much we can talk about today, so I think we're gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, what do we want to start with first? Let's start with how we received the news. I think the first piece of news that I got was that we're going to have to see Prism all over again for so much longer.
Yeah?
Yeah, so she has came up, what was it, 2 points or 3 points?
I think it was 3, and it just got another point like a day after that came out.
Yeah, so we're looking at 2 points from being LL. Super close from being LL. Yet, here we are, having to deal with her for yet another month with more auras and more spectral shields. How do you feel about it there?
Who we're referencing?
Yeah, again, I'm just not used to this. All right, let's start with our guests. How do you feel about it, Jonathan?
Pretty tired of seeing Prism, but I think given how the meta shakes out, generally she holds down a lot of those hard control decks for aggro players. So she's kind of a necessary evil, considering myself as an aggro player. So I don't know. I'm a little mixed here. So.
And you played Briar, Gabe. So how do you feel about her?
Yeah, so I'm definitely bummed that she's going to be leaving for a couple different reasons. Number one, Briar, it's like a pretty easy matchup going into it, where I can just break all of her auras and just hit in with a big swing turn. So that's sad that there'll be a less easier matchup to win against, but with Dromai popping in, it should still give my Illusionist not the end of the world. But I think what I'm really bummed about is she's so pretty and all of her cards are so shiny and fun, and it's like we're going to lose one of the prettiest, most aesthetic decks, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I do feel like those heralds, they do shine very nice. Plus, all of her auras got cold foil too.
Yeah, it's very she just looks like a golden deck. It's just bling, and it's so sick.
Do you have any bling from Prism, Jonathan?
I have a lot of bling.
Myself.
I'm sorry, I gotta get used to this
too. Myself, I don't have any Prism bling. So unfortunately, it just got to be a little overwhelming with how much there was to collect. So
that is true.
And really for me, I like to go back to some of the older stuff before Monarch. So
that's true. Wait, did you get that Mask of Momentum?
I in fact did. I was able to pick it up.
Oh, this man has an alpha Mask of Momentum. In a time where Fi is running rampant, this guy got a Mask of Momentum.
Yeah, at the height of the market, just please sell to me at the height of the market, guys.
Oh my god.
Jonathan, yeah, so
that is some big dick energy right there.
So I bought it from a South African seller, but he was visiting family in Austin, so I actually drove down to Austin just to check it out and pick it up. So,
dude, that at first sound like those scams, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, I mean the biggest fear in those situations is always, to me, gonna be, I just drove down 3 hours and they ghosted me.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Because it's like, what do you
That'd
But
do?
be
it all worked out, huh?
Was
Yeah,
this?
it did. So it's a very beautiful card. Really enjoy adding it to the collection. I think it's just going to be one of those grails that you can always treasure.
All right, I don't mean to dismiss Prism here, but I'm very curious right now. So we're just talking about the mask. I believe you have scab skins. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What else? What other little jewels on this holy grail is there?
So yeah, outside of that, I also bought the cold foil grasp. I feel like
Ooh.
there's some really old school players that are getting out of the game right now, and coupled with the global economy and a lot of
Mhm.
concern with recent drama, I think it's just been kind of a good opportunity to buy, and I've just been focusing on a lot of the more aggro decks since that's more my play style. But I think it's just a reminder that why we love this game, right? You can focus on a class or group of heroes and kind of work to bling those out and not go hitting the bank, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, for sure. But that's really cool, man. I mean, that's
It's an accomplishment.
you know, that's I think what the lottery's at like what $1 billion right now.
God, yeah.
That's like some lottery type stuff. I think that's how I would get into that range. But good on you for. I think you're right as far as like we are seeing some people leave. We are seeing some older players leave, collectors leave. Especially with like when Uprising wasn't coming out with like a first edition, which I think everyone saw coming. But I think that also had maybe some influence on the collectors. Um, yeah, I don't know. All right, let's get back to Prism real quick. Just to finally let her be. I do think you're right, Jonathan, that she is a gatekeeper in some sense. I think she is keeping back Kano. I think she's doing a very good job there, as well as Oldham. I think those are two heroes that would just quickly dominate had she not been able to hold them back. So I do think she is a necessary evil, like you said. Um, but I think Spectra's broken, man. I really do. Oh
Amen.
man. Yeah. Spectra's such a broken mechanic. But it does come to wonder if we are going to see another light illusionist, which I'd imagine we would, especially with all these cards that are made for her. If she is going to, because I wonder if it was her weapon that made her so good, not necessarily the Spectra or the cards around her. Thoughts? I'll take it to you this time, Gabe.
I definitely think the weapon was probably the most overpowered part of having Prism with this infinite go again with all the little Spectras. Give it, she has a powerful just trigger on a stick of her own, but I definitely think the weapon really pulled her out. But that's just my thought. Jonathan?
Yeah, I think Gabe kind of explores a really good topic there because coupling Living Legends with a weapon to when you effectively get rid of that hero, I think will help. Because if we do see a new illusionist and LSS wants to explore a new route, I think the weapon would be the first area I would look at to change that kit. Another thing that, and I hope I don't go off into another tangent, but really when you talk about even replacing with the Light Illusionist, do we even expect that chain? We're gonna see a new Shadow Runeblade quickly, or like how quickly do we expect these replacements to come?
I didn't even think about that.
I remember them saying the next set.
I do remember that too.
Yeah. So, but honestly, I do think it does line up pretty damn well with the next supplemental set. Because we didn't get really any shadow cards or light cards with Everfest. So you'd imagine the next supplemental set will go more into the Monarch and Tales of Aria area. And we'll get some cards there. So I think that's the opportunity to print the new heroes, whether they be CC or Blitz or whatever the case. But I think that's where they have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, agreed. Seeing the Living Legend system flesh out now is actually kind of exciting. So
Yeah, it's it seems so in the distance, but now it's here. We are about to have 3 heroes into it. I bet. I mean, maybe LSS wants to kind of wait until there's more, but I would say once we get 4 heroes, I would say let's get that format rolling. Yeah,
it'd be kind of fun.
Be awesome.
I'll play Starbro again.
Yeah, you know what? I wonder how Starbro would do against a seed-bearing chain. I think Chain would get him. I gotta be honest.
That's a good video idea, right?
Yeah. I do have a CC Chain deck with a young version. I'm gonna take that to an armory, letting y'all know how it goes, and we'll see how that goes. But anyways, okay, so let's move on to our second bit of news. As far as for me, this is how it came in second here. Let's talk about the drama that we don't get too much of drama of LSS, but let's talk about the drama of LSS going ahead and saying, you cannot have my product anymore. You are officially banned from using Flesh and Blood product. That is with the store. What's his store name?
Compete Esports.
Help me out here. Oh, there it is.
And I would like to clarify just on the front end that LSS is banning them from organized play. They can still purchase product through a distributor. However, they will not be able to get any promos or help out organized play for their store. So they're actually so realistically they're not as hurt as I thought they were.
It's a good point. No, that's a very good point. Yeah, because from a business standpoint, they would still be able to make money off the game.
Yeah, but don't let that hurt the introduction. I still want you to go forward with that, so I apologize.
Oh yeah, no. That's why I'm glad you're here. Because that's absolutely right. So I went ahead and saw the podcast that was the infamous podcast. So apparently, because Gabe here doesn't know anything, right, Gabe?
Yeah, I'm so blind. We're talking about things, and I'm trying to connect it with the dots.
So let me
make more sense.
Let me set this up. Jonathan, feel free to interrupt me if I get anything wrong or if you want to add anything.
Oh no, you're the captain.
Okay, so
you're the captain.
All right, so this I think his name's George, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, George, and then the guy from Kitchen Table. Flesh Blood Kitchen Table TCG. That's what it's. Kitchen Table TCG.
Yeah, and he's Louis.
Louis. I actually knew Louis from his other videos. I never knew this George guy before, but so George and Louis are having this podcast, and George claims to have some inside knowledge, and he starts to spout that LSS has just tons and tons. I think the number was 200,000 boxes of Monarch and Welcome to Wrath, in between, a mixture of those two, and that they really screwed over Channel Fireball, and Channel Fireball is just trying to get rid of them now, and that is kind of what happened with when Channel Fireball was bought up from TCG Player. The TCG Player had to buy some of these boxes basically from Channel Fireball. That Channel Fireball just had as dead product because there's no way you can sell that many. I guess the numbers that they said, there's about 150,000 players, so why would you have that many boxes? And that stores are just struggling to get rid of these boxes. So a lot of numbers were laid out, right? And even Louis in this podcast was like, I don't believe that. But George is saying he has some inside knowledge. He has a scoop. And so this podcast comes out. I don't know when this came out. A little while back, though. It wasn't that far back. Because they were talking about the announcement of Worlds. And they had their opinions on it. But like I said, numbers were given out. So then last weekend, as we're recording on the last day of July here, a what was it? It's just like a little article, right? That came out this show who was banned.
I just saw it on
I
Twitter,
think I
so
think
I
yeah,
don't even
maybe
know
it
where it
was
came
just a
from.
tweet. But yeah, it was just saying, yeah, this store is banned from hosting organized play. They had a list of stores that were banned, and I honestly thought it was because like they just gave or they didn't give out the mat, like you had to earn the mat or some shit. Apparently, I thought it was some stupid shit like that. I was like, oh come on. But then when this like information came out, I was like that this guy was banned because he basically was spreading false truths. I guess he's fake news basically. Yeah.
Misinformation, yeah.
So that was the whole reason behind. Now a lot of people are up in arms with it, saying that LSS overreached and went nuclear, and just did too much right there. I am very curious on what your take is. Let's start with Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean it's been a wild roller coaster. I think it's been kind of weird seeing this unfold, and for kind of the first time in my life being able to step back and say, hey, let's not go in guns blazing. All right,
Okay.
let's not make too rash of a decision and have an opinion before we see all the cards get played. But with that being said, we're seeing just information come down the pipeline that I think has changed perspectives every time I've heard it from a different person. So I think I'm just kind of holding my breath and seeing how this continues to unfold. But it's been quite interesting so far.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, yes, I believe that is the best way to do it. Like what do we know? But I tend to side with LSS as of now. I admittedly like tend to side with them when I first heard the news, but after hearing the podcast that got them in trouble, I am still definitely leaning towards the LSS route. I just feel like the individual should be separate from the game store owner. I honestly think a game store owner should just be as neutral as possible to anything. I mean, like, I think let the community decide what's like good and bad with the game itself. But as the owner, just focus on the finances of it and like just focus on getting players in or selling product. I think. How about you, Gabe? What's your opinions?
So, I have a couple thoughts. My first thought is, just from everything that I've heard, is these guys were spreading misinformation,
Allegedly.
which is
No.
never a good thing. But allegedly. Well, no, it's really fair to say allegedly the way I'm thinking about it, because then, so they're spreading this information, trashing on LSS, saying they're doing something scummy or scammy, and in doing so, LSS can either act like a professional business and nip it on the bud and talk to them and get rid of that information and just move on, or they can act like a 13-year-old girl and lose her mind and ban them. Which, if they're gonna act emotionally, which I feel LSS did, it's for either like two thoughts. One, it's because it's true and they really want to shove it under the carpet. Two, it's because they're like insecure about something with what they said, if they're really still upset about the channel Powerball earlier this year when they liquidated everything. So I'm thinking, like, don't get me wrong, LSS probably made the right decision if these guys are spreading misinformation, but I think they went about it horribly if they're going to just freak out.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you pretty heavily on that one. Kind of just to expand on that point a little bit. I think one of the key takeaways that I had was that with this banning, that probably would have been the end solution, regardless on what route it took to get to that end step. But at the end of the day, I think LSS did have a communication misstep, as this is kind of a big store for people that have been heavy into the community, flesh and blood early. So if we continue to see these communication issues, because it seems to be the most common issue with LSS, I do have slight concerns However, I will say that that's a very minor compared to my overall satisfaction with the game.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Like, I think when it comes to
Yeah.
the actual gameplay, like nothing changes here. All right, good. I'm super happy about this because I thought if we all would agree, it'd be like, okay, well, yeah. But I disagree with both of you guys. So now I get to really say. All right. So first, I want to say this: if we start seeing more other people come up and say the same thing, then you're right, Gabe. It's just them trying to cover it up, right? Because you would imagine if what George was saying was true, and then he gets his shop then can't play any organized events, then you would imagine other stores would come up and be like, yeah, hey, this is wrong, like that you shouldn't, LSS shouldn't do this because what he's saying is true, blah blah blah, right? If we start seeing that, okay, then then that's a really no for LSS, right? Like that's pretty bad. But
Yeah.
if none of that does happen, then I'm okay with it. Just because I think I'm not gonna get too much out of the realm here, but I think we are in an age where misinformation spreads quicker than facts and truths. And
Because it's
yeah, it's a little bit of a take here. And so I think when I mean, it is juice. You're absolutely right. Like whenever we like, if we can nip it in the bud as soon as possible, and like even if it means like set example, I don't think that's necessarily what's going on, but I think they just, with how new this game is, and like how many times people have been like, oh, this game's dead in a year or whatnot. I think you do want to try to, if I'm guessing this guy was pretty influential, right? Because like you're saying, his store is one of the earliest and the big ones.
Yes, his store was so early at adopting that LSS didn't really have a distribution model at the
Okay,
time.
all right, yeah. So he was
So
on
they-
it.
Yeah, they were still fielding stores for the game.
I wonder if Mr. Bill from Reaper, how he feels. I see, that's the thing. That's where it comes up to, where it's like, is this just like one of those, or just some guy was just doing content, or is he speaking truth?
So I think that's interesting. I actually did meet Bill today.
Oh,
Whoa,
okay.
Look at that.
So I will say that I don't want to speak for Bill.
Obviously, yeah.
Especially in this situation, because he is a very important name in the scene.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I will say that he's taken a very mature look at this, and from the outside, I think he's put in a lot of interesting perspectives as far as just being a store, and what you can do as far as distribution versus organized play model. So I think he's offered some really interesting insights into that, and really I think he also discussed a lot today in regard to John Warden's video, which was made in response to the Made to Be With You podcast. So John Warden is also Fluke and Box, for those who are unaware. So very pivotal to the Flesh and Blood scene. So really interesting to hear from him, as typically he is not terribly outspoken, other than just being a primary collector for the game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was. I remember seeing him as one of the first contents. Okay, so how did he approach it? Is he upset? Is he okay with this? Is he just moving past it? I'm trying to find a video here.
Yeah, John seems to be a little fired up about this situation.
Okay.
I think for good reason. I think he has a lot of inside perspective, just from the relationships that he's had and the people that he knows. And that's understandable. We live in a small world, and people talk. We like to connect. So I think probably one of the most interesting perspectives that was offered on Fluke and Block's channel was really the two things, right? So he's banned as an organized play holder, so I think that puts the scope in a very different direction because he can still buy and sell booster boxes.
Right, right.
So he can run events just more out of his pocket than originally. And if he chooses to open boxes and sell, he will no longer have access to any stipends or bonuses that LSS gives for meeting revenue requirements on TCG Player for their game. So they lose a couple of those benefits and therefore margin, which already hurts as a business. But John also provided the perspective that being an early adopter to the game, that George may have been a little less than happy that his store was not considered for direct shipment of product.
Interesting. That's true. Yeah, because he said he wasn't officially like one of the. He said like one of the 8 people that was talked to for just getting like tons of products. He had to like hear it from one of those 8 people. So he was on the outside looking in yet there again. That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so you know, and understandable when we come down at the end of the day, margin is important for any business. So I think when I try to look at these scenarios, I do try to look from all perspectives and try to empathize as best I can. And it seems tough to me, this situation. However, I do lean a little bit more towards that the banning would still occur.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think you're absolutely right. I think one way or the other it was going to happen, whether it just took like some talks in between or not. But yeah, I don't know. Like if you just, I feel if you're just going to be as opinionated as that, like Louis was fine, right? Louis doesn't own a fucking game store or like doesn't host events, right? So like, but even he was saying like he wasn't totally on board with what was being said, but it's just, I think you just gotta look at it from a business perspective and be like, okay, you know, is what I'm saying going to hurt my business, or is it going to promote it, or like one way or the other? But like, you are connected to your business no matter what. So that's my intake on it as well.
I want to just say that just with the May the Zoo Be With You podcast in general, I did tend to watch it early on in the beginning, especially when Midtown Merchant Mitch was a part of the podcast. So it was a 3-person podcast.
I remember that,
and typically, from my experience, there were a couple reasons why I stopped. One of them primarily being the negativity in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to really only talk about the dollar value of the game, and I think that brought a lot of stress onto myself, especially early on, and really didn't let me dive into the game for the reasons why I really wanted to, which was being a player. And really, it seemed like in those podcasts, George was kind of the rabid dog, where he would be addressing rumors, you know, speculations, and you know, just spreading that information. And it would be Louis and Mitch that would kind of be the ones to reel him back in. It feels like, I'm not sure if this is also just because Mitch has been gone, or if Louis has just grown so accustomed to George having his tirades, but it did seem like he did go a little bit too far in the CFB Scoopies episode.
Yes, those his words, Scoopies. Yeah, it did seem that way. I'd agree on that. Yo, Gabe, are you scrolling and clicking out there, buddy?
Times, but I don't think I'm scrolling a whole lot, but that could be me. I was trying to find some of this. I'll be honest.
Yeah, picking up the dirt.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is there anything you wanted to say on that at the end of
I do
it,
like
Gabe?
the
There.
point you brought up about it was like his business when he's kind of like shooting himself in the foot. Like if you're in business, you should act professional and not be as emotional towards things if you're trying to maintain business. But that was one thing I picked up from what you said that I thought was pretty substantial.
Okay. Cool. That's why we gotta have you in, Jonathan. I need someone to disagree with me.
Yeah.
Me and Gabe get along too well.
Just
Uh, all right.
I do like kind of being the bad guy sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
feel
we
free
saw
to have
Jonathan
me
here
on
all
if
the
you
time.
want
He could be like our
to.
little the villain, like the Disney villain.
That'll be the intro. Jonathan the villain. Yeah.
Have you thought about genocide?
Oh,
Love it.
beautiful. All right. So the next piece of information we got, and then I got a little bonus piece at the end here. But the next one we got is the most recent emergency banning. This has been a while since we've seen an emergency banning of the stubby hammerers. We've seen it first get banned in Blitz before Uprising even came out, before we even knew why, but we trusted them and they were certainly right to ban it in Blitz. But now we are seeing it before Nationals, before Pro Tour Lily, before Worlds being banned. Here yet again, Fi takes a hit. How do we think that the Ninja's going to do? I'm going to direct this first to you, Jonathan, as you have a Fi deck and we're playing Fi and are a Ninja player, I would say, right?
Yeah, I think that as far as stubby hammers goes, you had really the potential to get 5 to 6 damage on a turn, and realistically, 0 cost for that is a lot of pressure, especially for Fi. I also think that if I were to look at this from LSS's perspective, I wouldn't be too pleased with players preferring a common card over my new legendary.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I think that also had
That's
a little
a very
bit
good point.
a little bit of play in this scenario.
I
here.
like that. No, is that a Scoopy?
Yeah, we got some Scoopies here. Yeah.
That's really good, actually. That's good.
Scooping 'em
Good
up.
thought there. How about you, Gabe? How do you feel? You took Fi, and you got a couple top eights with them, right?
One
Or-
top 8, and
yeah.
then we like bubbled out on the 10s. But I'll count it if you said it.
Okay.
No, I think it's sad. Give it because, like John was saying, there's good potential to get 5 points of damage. I know when me and Adam running it, like if you're running hot, you can get like 7 to 8, which is pretty substantial. I think it's definitely not needed to win games, but it was definitely just like it's just one other thing to stack on all the craziness I could do with like Art of Wars, spreading flames, and so on. I think.
Well,
No,
go ahead. Sorry. Well, we saw the calling winner in Utrecht, or I don't know how you say it, but in the European city there. It was a Fi deck. I mean, I think it was the top, like 3 of the top 4 were Fis, but and it was a deck that used stubby hammers and had kind of a it was half combo, half mid range, so it had versatility in its playstyle. But now I wonder, because big part of that combo was stubby hammers and grabbing assault of wound after the fact. Do you think combo is dead? I'll start with you, Gabe, this time.
I don't think it's dead, but I don't think it's going to necessarily be the best playstyle unless people aren't expecting it, and you could just go spike a tournament because people aren't expecting the combo with pouncing links to assault the wound. But I wouldn't put it off, but I'd say probably more of a mid-rangey consistent deck will perform a lot better now that one of its main pieces is gone.
All right, what say you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm really interested to seeing what levels of exploration people go into. Really because I think this ban kind of hurts Kodachi a little bit. Kodachi 5, because realistically, if you're going to use the stubby hammers, for me, I think to get the most bang for your buck, you're coupling that with Salt the Wound and Mask of the Pouncing Lynx and Kodachi's to get your widest chain potential. So I think that hurts Kodachi a little bit, but I think we were also moving to a more defensive Fi, given with Bravo and Dory's prevalence in the meta, to counter Fi's aggressiveness. So really, I think this almost puts away. Hey guys, let's move away from the aggro. Let's get some more mid range in here. Let's get some more block. I'm honestly interested to see if anyone can solve the Breeze Rider boots, if they're gonna run those in Fi.
Ooh.
Maybe add a little bit of spice. Maybe a fluster fist. Maybe I'm reaching. I know I'm reaching on that one, but I would love to see what kind of new things people can explore, just because Fi has become a little slower.
You know, I like that, because I honestly think that the Uprising heroes haven't been like completed yet. You know, I feel like they're still, even with like Dromai and Icelander, I feel like we don't know the most optimal deck yet. And so I think here again, we're just still trying to discover that with Fi right now.
Oh, without a doubt.
LSS has done it again.
It's funny, it kind of took us a while to figure out Starvo. Not long at all, but it did like kind of take a while to be like, oh, just always views. That's the way to do it.
I'd like to thank LSS and James White for turning me into an adult, because realistically, with all of these announcements and changes and seeing how they go about changing the game, I've learned to sit back and not react immediately. Because
Dude,
when I saw Stubby Hammers get banned, at first I thought, oh, I'm not going to have my massive Timmy turns. But the more I thought about it, I put it in a perspective of beating the decks that are beating me, and I think it opens up more exploration.
So Fi's not dead, right? Is that what you're saying?
Not at all. Not at all. If anything, I think he's actually pretty decent, and I think he's moving into an area where he can block a little bit more and not be fully mid range, but lean a little bit closer to that than he was previously.
Okay. So you can take a breath of fresh air and, like, you know, a little sigh of relief now, Gabe. You can still play your Fi.
Right.
You just gotta try harder now.
I just have to play good. I just can't.
Yeah.
Make the buttons press and win from there. I have to think about it. That's a little less fun, but I guess that can work.
Let me throw some numbers at you guys. You guys into numbers? I fucking love numbers, man.
Like number 4.
I
always.
Oh
God.
Yes, that's.
Okay, so I took I got this from 3 different sites. It was Fab Dojo, TCG Player, or the Fab TCG, I should say, and there's another site. I don't quite remember the name, but anyways, I just took the top 8 decks and took the decks that got to the finals. So first and second, right? Now, through this whole RTN season, what do you guys think the number 1 hero was? Like, who got the most first and second places?
I'll let Jonathan guess first, then I'll guess second.
Wimp. That's a cop-out move.
Question, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Fi.
That's a good one. I was gonna guess Briar, if I'm honest. I figured it was easy enough and well known enough.
So Briar made a strong appearance in the beginning, but Fi did take it in the end, and Fi does have more wins as well. So it goes right now. We have Fi, Briar, Viscerai as the top 3 decks. Mm-hmm. Now, with the sudden bannings, you know, I agree. I don't think Fi is gone. I think Fi is fine, actually. But does Fi stick with the top 3, or is Fi kind of in the middle, kind of like with Prism, Droma, and Dorinthia?
I definitely think he'll probably go to the middle, because I think everybody that thought Fi was going to be the best deck were on Fi, but now they think that it's banned, but they didn't look into like the depths of it. So they'll probably switch over to the next best aggro, which would be Briar.
Sensing some self-projections right there.
You're not wrong.
I would agree with moving to the next best aggro deck. However, I believe that call would be Viscerai, personally.
You know, it's so funny that Viscerai made such a huge jump Because he was kind of written off too when Bloodchief Skeletor was banned, right? But boy, like he really made an appearance this RTN season.
So I do want to clarify a point that was made because you discussed would you still play Fi. I think it depends on the context of what events you're playing Fi in.
Okay.
Given this recent ban, because if I were to go to my local armories any day, I would play Fi. Given if there is still RTNs, I would probably play Fi in Classic Constructed.
Okay.
However, if I were to go into the Pro Tour or any major CC event outside of that, at that level, I think I would probably tend to stray away from Fi, just as Fi I think is probably going to be the targeted deck.
Ooh, really? Okay. You know what? It's funny you say so. Okay, so all of us are chumps. None of us are going to Pro Tour. But Adam went ahead and he has a PTI. He's going to go to the Pro Tour. He was on Fi, but now he's looking to get off Fi. And so I wonder if, like, man, because that's an interesting point. Like, if that's the deck to gun for now, it kind of feels like the last Pro Tour where we didn't know Hero got banned per se, but things got shaken up, right before this Pro Tour.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to get Adam in on here right before he leaves.
Yeah, we'll get him in on next week when we talk about the Pro Tour metas and whatnot. But yeah, we'll have to see. I kind of think. All right, let's do something fun real quick. All right, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna start this off. I think. Oh man, I forgot about Prism. Prism might get it.
What's the spies?
Yeah. Oh man. Man. Okay, I'm gonna give it to. I think Briar is going to win this Pro Tour right now. That's where I'm at.
Really?
I'm going to give it to Briar. I think she's due.
Hot take.
Oh, we're doing this.
Yeah. This is the hot take 3 weeks out.
All right. Not only will I name the hero, but I will name the player.
Oh, I think I have an idea who. All right, go ahead.
I believe it will be Viserai.
Okay.
And Hayden Dale is just gonna take it home. He's just gonna show us what we've all been missing.
Oh man. Fun fact, I faced Hayden Dale. He was playing Briar at the time of Cheerio Briar, and he kicked my ass. So I can see it.
Yeah, he's not to be trifled with.
Yeah, it turns out he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, wow, nice.
What do you think, Gabe?
I think it's gonna be that Fringe Rogue Icelander deck that takes it.
No, okay, you're done.
No, I'm genuine. I think it's gonna be that one kid who's just been playing it since they spoiled it.
Kano really made a presence in the last Pro Tour, so I mean, it's not out of reach to just say like a deck comes
I think
out
something
of
with
nowhere.
Ice. That's kind of where I've been leaning. Is either like Ice Lexer or Icelander, because I think Ice is so strong.
Ice Lexi's interesting, but yeah.
Okay. Wizard will always be the dark horse for me, just because Kano is one of those heroes that people refuse to learn.
True. Oh, it's just so different
to play against, and I think that makes him a threat, which I would love to see that. And then also, as Gabe mentioned, if we saw a Icelander, Icelander is just one of those decks where it's so strange to me. I can't build it, but I would love to see someone with the skill to do it. I would love to see that be piloted. So, really interested to see those oddball decks.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. All right, fine. My oddball deck is you know what? Oldham's, he's that doesn't feel oddball, but we haven't seen him in a while, so I'm gonna claim
Nice.
to it.
I was waiting for the Bolton call, but
Bolton would have been nice. You know what? Maybe he's actually viable now. Maybe I should test him. He was like Fight just outraced him so hard, but now maybe he has a turn or two. Yeah. Okay, so last piece of news, just a little bonus content here. All right, so All right, this is perfect because Jonathan, you're a collector. Gabe, you are an investor in some of this stuff. So how do we feel about Flesh and Blood or LSS, not Flesh and Blood, but LSS partnering up with PCG? How do you feel about it, Gabe?
So, I'm very controversial about this due to I think. Okay, so LSS is partnering with a grading company that's brand new, but it's also LSS's poster child that owns the grading company. And so it's basically like they're just shaking each other's hands so they can be able to give each other better deals, especially with like even how they came out with saying any of the new gold foils will be at least a 9 or whatever. I think it kind of takes away the specialty of grading a high card and getting a high card. Now that these two companies can look at each other, shake each other's hands, get higher grades, and then both of them will benefit. When in reality, I think it's just going to be not the downfall of the PCG, but people are going to take it way less seriously than they ever did.
Yeah, I think they're a little too unionized for my taste here. I really loved when PCG put up a booth at the last calling. I thought that was absolutely spectacular. I thought that was a wonderful business move. Yeah, everything about it was really good. But I think when a grading company really puts itself so close with a card game, I think you really get into an odd area, just because people are very tied to BGS as far as the high-end collectors right now. And PCG, from what I have seen, has been a little bit more lax on some grades compared to BGS in certain areas. Now, whether or not they're more consistent within those grades internally, I think that's another discussion, and I think they might be more consistent, but I don't think they're as harsh, which I think is important when you are collecting graded cards.
Oh man! All right, well, that's I don't know. I got my at that calling event. I got my gold foil Heart of Ice graded. I got a 9. Which is it's okay, but I want it better. So maybe I need to sell now before people get off on this company.
I think if they do something shady and it gets called out, it's just gonna the company. I feel like PCG's already it's a new company. It's just getting its legs, but I feel like it's already fragile enough when there's BGS to compare it to as well as PSA. It's just I don't know. I can't see it being that much that's gonna help them.
Yeah, let's even put ourselves into the minds of the people that have already won their gold foils, whether that was in ProQuest or in Road to Nationals or even at the callings, right? They already got their gold foils. They got those graded. What if you got an 8, right? How do you feel now? Our LSS isn't going to necessarily take those back and allow you to get a 9+.
That's what I'm saying. I never even opened mine from the case. It stayed there, and I got a 9. So what the fuck, man? I could have got this 9+, this 9.5 or higher. It says. Yeah.
And if everything's a 9.5 or higher, then the rarity goes away. Right. A lot of value in these collectibles really comes down to the quality of the printing. When everything has been printed bad quality, that tin becomes so much more valuable than anything else around it.
That's a very good point.
I think LSS is actually reducing some stock in not only the gradability of their cards, but the collectability. I don't see gold foils as important as I did originally when I started this game. That's why I've made such a huge push towards my alpha investment, right?
Alpha investments, all right.
Let's go. Always gotta put in a quip. But I think realistically, when it comes down to it, it comes down to mint or rare or better. Right?
Yeah.
And if they've got the mint down, but is it rare?
Yeah, that is extreme. I didn't even think of it like that. That's a very good point. Now we're just everything's 9.5 or higher. There's nothing to debate about that now. there's no super rare anymore.
I think as far as the steel goes, at the end of the day, especially when I saw this, I first thought that this helps PCG. This hurts LSS.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. All right. Well, yeah, I think we're all in agreement that this feels weird, and this doesn't feel necessarily like a great thing. All right. Well, I think that's about it. That's all we got for this week. There's other stuff that happened. All the RTN, the new skirmish coming out, but I think we covered the juicy gossips. And, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I mean, I'm oozing with juice right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that hot goss.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out then. Unless you guys got anything else y'all want to add on.
I'm content. I thought it went well.
All right.
I'm stoked that Jonathan joined.
Yeah. All right. Now
really happy to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Definitely appreciate it.
This is your time to plug in what you got going on.
Yeah, I just want to say, as far as sponsors, I want to call out Cold Foil Control and
good one.
Fab Metal Tokens.
Yeah, you know what? We call those guys out all the time. These guys, they're
legit.
super legit.
Yeah,
they just followed us on Twitter. That's pretty cool.
I think they were able to corner a market really early on, where people wanted quality in the tokens that they were able to play with, and I think it's been wildly successful. So really hoping to see growth in that area.
I think we will see more and more products as the time goes on. I think we're definitely going to see possibly like almost a whole booth of that product in World. So.
Wow! Spoiler alert.
Little spoiler. Not giving out too much. There's definitely more I can give out, but yeah, no. It's Fat Metal Tokens is here to stay. That's for sure. All right. Well, cool. Thanks everyone for listening to us. Keep tuned for next week when we talk about the new meta for the Pro Tour. Well, it's not new. It's kind of new, but we'll do a meta breakdown, see what to expect. Maybe we'll even have Adam on since he'll be playing in. But until then, thanks again for listening. And this has been Win In Podcast, and we'll see you next week.